Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Refugee Led Conversation. This month, July, we're going to be talking about mental health, a topic that is really very vital for young people that are on the move, especially the refugees. And in our talks today, we are joined by three amazing young people from Zimbabwe, Iraq, and in Kenya.
I am Mohamed Yusuf, a Somali refugee based in Kenya, Nairobi. I'm a psychologist and a project manager for a refugee-led organization called Tawakal. The thing that made me do mental health awareness and the well-being of the community is the childhood experience that I have. The childhood journey that I have experienced, I can remember my childhood memories. I spent running from one place to another without proper education, lack of food, shelter, and clothing. And I lost one of my brother due to mental health issues. It was too late, without knowing, because people were saying in something like witchcraft and all that, and it was too late when we find out that he has mental disorder. That's why I want to educate the community to identify the problem and the issues that refugees have. One thing I believe that a good mental health helps them to develop the resilience to cope up, the resilience to cope with whatever life throws at them. So everything starts with psychological stability, and mental health is very important at every stage of life. That's what made me do mental awareness and to do awareness with the refugees.
Hello, everyone. My name is Happiness Umineza. I'm calling from Zimbabwe, and I'm a psychology student, actually. So I started psychology basically because I just chose it as a program, but then I fell in love with it when I worked at a psychiatric unit in Zimbabwe at one of the biggest hospitals. So I managed to find out that a lot of things can make someone to be mentally ill, which made me want to implement what I learned on refugees, since most of them have suffered trauma, post-traumatic stress issues. Some have depression, some are even using drugs and everything. So I wanted to teach them to know a lot of stuff, and then also remove the stereotypes that people have about mental health. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aus Jubair. I am a refugee from Iraq. Right now I'm based in Turkey. I am also an activist. I have been working with refugees for the last 7 years. I am now the founder and director of 3 humanitarian projects. The Aman Project, United Hands for Refugees, and the Otherwise projects. I'm mostly working with LGBT refugees and empowering people to deal with mental health is part of my work. And those 3 projects all focus on refugee support and advocacy.
I wish I knew how challenging and deep mental health can easily be. If it's not treated or taken serious, because mental health are usually a problem that grows on humans with each passing day, and can make a certain human being deteriorate for a long period of time, suffering, and some of the people may not even be aware until they find out themselves in a situation where they cannot help themselves and need an outside help. For our intervention may go a long way far.
Realizing that mental health is an essential part of who you are and an essential factor in your happiness and productivity and well-being. Just like if you cannot be happy and work normally if you're not taking care of your physical health. If my liver was hurting me, I wouldn't just ignore it and assume that I can function normally without going to the doctor, without maybe going through an operation or taking medications. It's the same thing when it comes to mental health. If you do not address it, if you do not take care of it, you cannot function normally. And it was a liberating feeling when I finally started realizing how important mental health is. And I started realizing that I have the power to improve my life, because if I address this problem, I will be able to be better, more productive. And that's something that I have realized over the years. Mainly because of the lack of awareness that and the stigma that is associated with mental health in our culture. And I wish I've known this like years before.
Thank you. Awais is telling us how connected the issue of actual mental health is, how it's connected to our productivity, how we relate with the people that are around us, our families, and how when we do our day-to-day businesses. So mental health to him is actually everything. It's everything that we do, and we shouldn't actually also ignore it and just be like, okay, it's just something that is out, maybe very far from us. I think we should also take it seriously as it's one of our concerns, just like how we treat any other illnesses, like maybe liver or another infection that we have in our body.
Okay, most of the things were mentioned by Oz and Ian, but what I wish I knew about mental health is that it can't be avoided. Anyone can succumb to that, and it's not an issue that people should be discriminating each other, but rather should be helping each other, especially even if some people cannot go to professionals. People shouldn't be judgmental and also should take each matter seriously. For example, the question, like when someone asks you, how are you? It's a very deep question. Like even if you're not okay, it's okay to talk to someone about what's happening, what's troubling you, than just keeping it to yourself, because you never know, it can hurt you a lot. And usually these mental illnesses, when they don't get, when they are not prevented at the early stages, they can cause a lot of problems.
Thank you. So the overall awareness that the need for someone actually to be aware that maybe there are some issues that can actually be a trigger to your mental health or the situation that someone is actually going through. And also getting to acknowledge that mental health is not something that is so big that is not maybe curable or not something that can actually be treated, but getting to know that actually is something that can be avoided, something that can be treated, and actually something that people can actually recover from. So from that last point, happiness, I'm getting back to you. So, like in our communities or the people that we play and we stay with, most time they think maybe they are helping us, maybe they're actually doing something for us, but they don't know that some of the things that they do are actually kind of stereotypes to the people who are suffering with mental health, or maybe they are worsening the situation more. So what are some of the stereotypes that in your community or the people around you that you have seen they actually do that makes it worse for the people that have mental health to actually recover?
Most of the stereotypes are that people think that when one succumbs to a mental disorder or when one is mentally ill, they'll think that this is the end of their life, or maybe it cannot be cured, but then they wouldn't have the information. And also they can't even go to look for a professional to talk to because they don't want to be labeled the crazy people, as they say, or the mad people, as they say, but they wouldn't know that just being silent is causing a very deep wound in their minds and everything. And also we have an issue about traditions. People think that when one is mentally ill, it's something to do with witchcraft, and then there are other beliefs that you don't go to look for a professional. There are some people that are still traditional that they don't be in this something that is easy to treat, or some may say we'll pray about it, and then they forget that the person they want to help needs medication or maybe needs counseling and everything. And also at some point those people might be treating the wrong wound. When someone has, for example, depression, they wouldn't want to tell anyone about it, especially those who have suicidal ideations. They won't want to tell everyone about it. They want to look for someone who is not judgmental. But then when you're living in a society or a community that has its beliefs about witchcraft and everything, obviously that person wouldn't open up. Let's say I was dealing with people with LGBTQ, right? So one cannot go and say one cannot come out of the closet because they know that the community doesn't allow that. So obviously they just keep it to themselves, which will eat them out, and then later on maybe they'll resort to suicide or anything just because of the traditions and the people of the community, the beliefs and customs and all that.
Thank you so much, Happiness, for highlighting this. Linking the traditional ways of actually linking mental health to witchcraft, or maybe something that actually happened to someone. The name calling in our community, calling someone who is suffering from mental health, someone who is crazy or a mad person, which make them actually to avoid seeking treatment and being judgmental. Actually, when someone is opening up to you, then you start judging. Oh, maybe because of so and so, maybe because of your relative or something like this. These are really some of the stereotypes that are also like in the communities that we actually come from.
I think in all, like not just in Iraq or Turkey, but in the Middle East and North Africa in general, we have a lot of installed beliefs, prejudgments about people who look after their mental health as crazy, sick, or weak. I was telling a story recently about my own father, who's an educated man. He went to university. He's a musician. You know, he reads books. But when I told him that I'm talking to a therapist, he answered me with, "You are a man. Be strong." You know, as if being a man and being strong has anything to do with taking care of yourself and taking care of your health. We don't view I think the problem is that we view our mental health in a way that is not healthy, and I wish that we saw our mental health just as we see our physical health, because that's what actually changed my perspective on it. I was I was in a community center with volunteers and refugees, and there was a session talking about mental health, and the person started talking about how we take care of our hygiene, physical hygiene, and then he started talking about mental health and compared it to taking care of our physical hygiene. And that's when, for me, it switched something in my mind, changed, and I started seeing this topic differently. Because, like I said, we have a lot of stereotypes and negative ways that we associate with mental health.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that point out, where people tell you, no, you don't need to actually maybe seek for medication. You don't need to maybe look vulnerable because you are a man or you are a strong person, you are from a strong background. You don't need to actually do some of these things. Thank you for bringing that one out and actually reminding and re-emphasizing the need to actually take mental health as any of the well-being that we really need in our community, linking it to physical health. Because if someone is suffering from malaria, everyone in the community will be concerned. But when it becomes the mental health, will tell you, it's something that you can manage. You maybe just stop thinking, stop overthinking, or you stop missing like where you came from, or stop missing home. They just brush it over and say maybe you're pretending, or maybe something that you can actually handle alone.
One of the biggest stereotypes that our community faces is that mental sick person is stigmatized and are not taken serious, as they call them names like crazy and make fun of them, or take them to centers where they are jailed or chained painfully, or to a tree that they are not even given the necessity to live, and make it even worse mentally and physically. In such scenario, it affects the victim as well as their family. And some of the community even doesn't believe in mental issues. They think that it's a witchcraft, so they try to torture the person so he or she can talk about their problem. So that's the biggest stereotype they have came across.
Okay, thank you.
Well, some of the symptoms are that I have a friend of mine who was experiencing body shaming. We say she was big, or maybe she was called names as fat, big, and everything. And then this was starting at home. The parents would come and call her names. You look like an elephant. You look like everything. They would call a lot of names. And then I would notice that she started losing interest in the activities that she used to do. She was an outgoing person. She was an extrovert. She started withdrawing herself from the society. She started wanting to live on her own. And then she started having low self-esteem. And now feeling that she's not useful in the society, she's useless. She started having negative thoughts, and then at some point she even started having suicidal ideations also, wanting to take her life, saying if my parents are calling me these names, then that means they don't love me, that they are the ones who have given birth to me. So that means if they see me as an elephant, they see me fat like this, then that means that I'm not beautiful, I'm nothing to this community, I cannot do anything. So because of this, she managed to confide in me, and then I talked to her and I said that she shouldn't take those things to heart. And then at some point they wouldn't know, the parents may be somewhat saying things that they don't know that have an impact on someone, and then they wouldn't know the density of those compliments, or rather, let's say, comments that would be making to someone, which would be causing damage to the person.
Thank you, Happiness, for bringing that up. And I think it's also a reminder to all of us that the causes of maybe mental health illnesses in our community are not things that actually are very far from us. It can be our close family members, it can be our spouse, it can be our best friends. And it's from the way someone actually speaks. We might think that, okay, these are things that are normal, they are spoken everywhere. but you don't know how maybe your friend actually takes it, and that's why actually happiness is telling us that from someone who is being called by the relative, by the parents that you're a fat, you're an elephant. So the parents maybe might be thinking that they're actually playing with her, they're joking with her, that it's like something which is normal. But to her, she took it very seriously, and that's why she also started looking at herself as someone who is not beautiful. She had all this low self-esteem. So these are the things that actually we need to be very careful, the kind of language that we speak in our own community, and how we actually interact with our friends, our family members, because anything that you say might actually have a much terrible impact on someone's mental health well-being.
So I'm a big believer that whatever people do or say and behave, it is just a reflection of what's going on inside of them. It's not really about the other person. It's about who you are, and so when people are angry and they are, let's say, talk negatively towards other people, or has anything that seems not healthy, I immediately think that that's just a reflection of what's going on inside the person, and perhaps they're dealing with a lot that makes them project that on their lives, on other people. So whether they realize it or not, unfortunately, most people don't realize that when you don't take care of your mental health, that's going to affect how you treat other people. That's going to affect how you interact with your friends, with your families. So, I managed a shelter for LGBT refugees, and I can see this is why we made it a requirement for people to take care of their mental health if they want to come and stay at the shelter, because I always told people, if you don't take care of your mental health, that's gonna affect not just you, but it's gonna affect everyone who's living with you. And so I think, my just an example is my father. I remember when I used to see him getting angry and yelling. For me, that is a symptom. When someone is always angry, that is a symptom that there's something inside of them that needs healing. That's always for me. Those are the symptoms that I see when people are negative with other people. I immediately think that there's something inside of them that needs some care, some attention, some healing.
One thing that I would do to a relative whilst waiting for professional support is offering them psychosocial support. Depending on the situation, it might be maybe, let's say, trauma, or maybe someone is raped. I can just sit with them, comfort them, and then make them see that it's not the end of the world, and then they'll get help. And also making sure that they don't have negative thoughts, for example, suicidal thoughts, or maybe starting to feel as if they are not wanted by someone, depending on the situation. Psychosocial support, basically.
Talking to someone is the first step that you take when you see that that person is struggling with psychological issues. Receiving that person without making any judgment and concentrating on their needs at that moment, and to avoid confrontation, give that person hope that's struggling with mental health, and ask them if they like any help, or if they would like to contact any person.
Talking in general about mental health and how the perception of it and the perception that society has, and how maybe talking from your own experience, I think whatever it is you say to normalize the topic, I think is always better than going to a person and saying you need help or you need to talk to a therapist. And that's a mistake that I have done, actually. I think when you come and tell people that they need a therapist, they get defensive and they were like, there's nothing wrong with me, like, what are you talking about? Like, and they might feel hurt or attacked because of all these misconceptions. So I think trying to normalize the topic as much as possible, suggesting TED Talks or an article that talks about this topic is probably a good idea.
The thing that brings me the most joy is seeing the community improve mental health-wise. In a way, when you see a former victim of mental health, maybe go about their business in a helpful manner way and help others by referring to us and creating awareness that goes far in a community without stigma or a sort of discrimination towards a specific person that's struggling with mental issues. Maybe that can be medicated first, and you can eradicate mental issues in the community. Maintaining my mental health is another challenge. While helping a client or a friend, but I usually deal with in a way that maybe I can take a break when I feel burnt or pressure mentally. I take a break, and that helps me get my thoughts together and deal with any sort of trauma that client shares with me, as they can be sometimes very heavy to take in at once. Maybe. I would like the audience to comprehend how serious mental health is in my community or in other community, and to understand how much this community needs any sort of help towards mental health, and it could help someone somewhere to have a normal life and help their families in some capacity.
Being able to see those people that I've helped, or those people that I have made to do decisions about wanting to take care of their mental health, living a mentally healthy life, and also making sure that other people are also aware about the dangers of being mentally ill and what it can do to the society. It might be violence or maybe some other things that they would even have an idea of. Well, like Ayan said, taking a break is a very good thing to do, and also maybe going out, taking a short walk and then coming back. And also I find a friend that I trust who doesn't judge me, so that I can maybe I can say offload some of the things too, so that it won't be heavy on my side. I would want the audience to know that being mentally ill or having a mental disorder isn't the end of life. It doesn't mean that someone is dying, or doesn't mean that it cannot be cured. It can be cured and life can go on. You can live a mentally healthy life. Depending if you have a disorder that needs medication, you can use medication and then have a mentally healthy life. And also the issue of gender socialization, like what I was once said about people saying that men should be strong. You shouldn't let everyone know about what you're feeling, and then if you expose yourself, then people think that you're weak. What I would say is that men are human beings like women do. You should express your emotions. You shouldn't be strong for what? If you feel that you have something that is going on in your mind, find someone to talk to. It can be an opposite sex, or maybe someone you can trust to talk to, because we have lost a lot of men to suicide last year. Since 2020 till date, a lot of men has committed suicide because they have been discriminated, and also they feel that if they express their emotions, if they tell someone, maybe they will be labeled weak, or maybe they wouldn't be called men, they'll be called women, because generally women are known as people that express their emotions anyhow they like. So what I want the audience to take away also is that if you're a man, you shouldn't keep your emotions inside. You should just look for someone to talk to, even if it's maybe, let's say, even a stranger. It's better, because we wouldn't want to get news or have people having suicidal thoughts and a lot of stuff just because of being socialized in a way that men should be strong and then women should be weak.
Thank you. I think I'll start with the ways that I take care of my mental health. I talk to a therapist every week, and I try to go to the gym as much as possible and do physical activity. I also take medications, and I've been taking medications for I think more than 3 years now, and they have been very helpful. It actually changed my life. So I after I start therapy and taking medications, and I also of course talk to a psychiatrist on a regular basis. I felt happy for the first time in my adult life. So I recommend that to everyone. What I would like people to know, to take from this conversation, is that mental health is really important for you and for everyone that you know. And I personally think that as we grow older and we become adults and life happens, and we have our work, we have our issues with our family, with our friends, with our girlfriends, with our boyfriends. Life is complicated, and I personally think that it's always good for people to see a therapist, even if they were not refugees, even if they were not LGBT. I think it's just a healthy practice to do. And I know some people think, oh, I can just talk to my friends. Yes, talking to friends is good. Going out and having fun is good. But your friends are not mental health professionals. There are things that only a mental health professional is able to do and is trained to do, that enables you to see things differently. This is something that I have realized from my experience, is that the therapist is not there to tell you what the solution is. The therapist is actually there just to help you figure out the solution yourself. And so oftentimes when I'm talking to my therapist, I come up with the solutions myself. It's just a good practice that I'm thinking and talking and analyzing what's going on in my life, because oftentimes when we don't have therapy, we're just reacting.